Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. So how many of you have already written your first book? Let me see your hands. Fabulous. Fabulous. And how many of you are working on a book? Fabulous. Fabulous. Well, you are in the right place because we're going to talk about how you can make it happen. And because I do believe that it is possible to get a book written in 6 weeks. Yes, 6 weeks. And I'd like to tell you how I actually got to be here speaking for you today. It all started last year. I got a call from the National Speakers Association, the Kentucky chapter, where I've been a member for more than 25 years. And I got a call from our chapter president, and he said, Kathy, I heard a rumor that you have written a book in less than 6 weeks. Is that right? And I said, well, actually, I've written 4 of my 5 books in less than 6 weeks. And he said, that is fabulous. That is fabulous. He said, we're wondering if you have a process and could put that into a program. And I said, you know, I've never even thought of that before. Yeah, I'd be happy to. And he said, well, before you say yes, he said, there's one more thing I want to ask you. He said, we have 2 of our chapter members who are working on their book. And what we'd like for you to do is to coach them along the process for a 6-week process. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, all give a program together about how that was. And I said, okay, you had me at give a program, but now you really, really got me. So I said, yes, let's do it. So I started coaching these 2 members. And throughout the coaching process, they said to me, Kathy, if you ever decide to leave HR consulting and speaking, you could so do this. And I thought, that's very interesting because I think at a certain point of our careers, we're always looking to reinvent ourselves and sort of think about what's next, how to stay fresh and vibrant in the marketplace. And I thought, you know, this is very interesting. And then I gave the program for my chapter in Kentucky. And at the end of the program, so many of my friends came up and said, you know, you could do this. If you decide to leave HR speaking and consulting, you could so do this. And I thought, you know what? I think I am going to do this. So I was, at the time, I was working for a consulting company. It was not my own company at the time. I was working for this other company. It was definitely a 40-plus hour a week job. I was putting together my business plan to start my new business, which was another 40-hour a week job. And then it suddenly occurred to me that if I was going to coach people on how to write their book in 6 weeks, guess what I now needed to do? I needed to write a book. And I needed to write a book about how to write a book. And I needed to write a book about how to write a book in 6 weeks, and I needed to get it done in 6 weeks. So like the pressure was totally on. I thought, well, this will be a good test because this will kind of help me know, can I really do it? Can you do it when you're working basically at least 40 hours for one job and 40 hours for the other job? Can you really do that and write a book at the same time? And I did it. So I know that it can be done. Now somebody asked me, now tell me about work-life balance and how was that during those 6 weeks? And I said, oh, there was no balance at all. No, I mean, it was morning, noon, and night. I was either working or writing, and working and writing. So there was no balance at all. But the good news is I did get it done in 6 weeks. And I think that's what's so appealing about this whole idea is that you can get it done. So I'm going to be sharing some of those ideas with you. What I'd like to do first of all, though, is, and by the way, this is not going to be me up here lecturing. This is going to be a lot of interaction. And what I'd like to do first of all is talk about why you should write a book. I think most of the folks in this room probably get that, but I'd like to just sort of cement it because it's important for us to get us motivated to do it in 6 weeks if we know how important it is to our businesses and our careers. So first of all, let me ask you, what, for those of you who've written a book, what has a book done for you? What has written a book done for you in your career? Yes?
It's opened doors that weren't there before.
Yes, it opens doors that were closed before, right? What else?
Increased fees.
What's that?
Increased fees.
Increase your fees. Hey, yes, all right, yes.
Enhanced credibility.
Enhanced credibility. All of a sudden, you're now the thought leader. You are now the person who literally wrote the book on that. Absolutely, yes.
Forced you to be the thought leader.
forced you to be the thought leader. Okay, good. What else?
Yeah, I found the process of writing the book actually boosted my actual presentation as well. You know, just the process of really digging into the information.
There's something about having to go through the process of writing that makes you get really clear about, first of all, what is your position on your topic, and then get a structure, get a process, get a model there that is helpful for others. So I think there's something really, really helpful about just articulating what your subject is really about. So absolutely, so many valuable reasons for writing your book. So that leads me though to my next question. Oh, and by the way, I have a handout and those are around in the middle of the table, so if you want to grab one, I want to encourage you to take notes on this because this will help you as you're working on your book, your next book. I'd like for you to think about, oh wait, this table, did you not get, you just got two? Or you, okay, there's one. Okay, so make sure everybody's got one. Good, everybody got one? Thank you for your help. Thank you for your help. So what I'd like for you to do, first of all, is just articulate what is the main benefit for you? What are you going to get out of writing your book? And if there's several benefits, write those down. And I dare say that there are many, many benefits for writing your book. But it's important for you to articulate what's in it for you. Okay, so let's get to the next question. So if a book is really important for us, our careers, to advance our fees, to be seen as the thought leader, so here's the question. So why haven't you written the darn book? Why haven't you written your book? What's getting in the way? What's blocking you? Yes? Time. Okay, how many of you would agree? Time is a huge issue. Yeah, I would totally agree with you. Time is a huge, huge issue because we're all busy, right? We're busy, we're speaking, we're out there doing stuff. It is really, really hard. And I have to say that one of the things I learned is that when I was working with these two women from my chapter, one of them had an extremely busy speaking schedule. And what she discovered is that she thought she had blocked time on her calendar for writing. Like she would fly to the West Coast and then she thought, oh, when I'm coming home, I don't have anything to do, so I will write on my way home. And she said, I got on the airplane and I was just exhausted and I couldn't think of anything. I just wanted to sleep and, stare off into space. And, that's the reality, is that we can only write when we have fresh, creative time to write. We're in that space of being energized and creative. And so we can't just force creativity when we are dog tired. So we have to be sure that we are blocking time for us to work that is really conducive for that creative energy. So that's a huge obstacle. And I want to talk to you about some specific strategies for working around that whole time issue, because maybe you can't do it in 6 weeks. Maybe that's not the right time for you. Because if you're super, super busy in your career, you may not be able to do it in 6 weeks. But you will get it done more quickly if you block time on your calendar. And here's the biggest tip, is block time on your calendar. So just as you would make an appointment to see a client, or you would make an appointment to prepare for your next speech, or just as you would block time for travel as you're going to that next assignment, you want to block time to write. And you want to block time at a time that's right for you. What I have found is that for me, my best writing time is first thing in the morning. And this is odd because I am not a morning person. I am absolutely not a morning person. But that time from about 8:30 to about 11:30 in the morning, those are prime time writing hours for me. And I have learned that. But I would suggest that each of you needs to learn where your happy time and happy place is to write. And you need to figure out what that is and then sort of guard that, treasure that. That is where I get it really done. So maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's late at night. Some the folks I'm coaching right now say, no, it's after the kids have gone to bed and I'm kind of done with dinner, and then I can just sort of sit down and I have this new burst of energy and I can sit down and write for a couple of hours. You need to figure out what that is for you, because it's different for each one of us here. So figure out what that is for you. And then figure out your happy place to write. Because for some of us, it's in the middle of a Starbucks or in the middle of a hotel lobby or on the airplane. And for some of us, we need to go into our cave. And I think, again, what's interesting for me is I am clearly an extrovert. And you might think that I would write best in the middle of a Starbucks. But I found, for whatever reason, when I'm actually writing, I need to go to the cave to write. I need to block out all distractions. I need to just not answer the phone or turn it off. I need to be sure that I don't see emails coming in. I need to turn off all distractions. So you need to figure out what works best for you. And then block that time and honor that time on your calendar. And that's another thing. It's one thing to block the time, but it's another thing to honor the time. And some of you are shaking your heads. Yeah, because you're like, okay, I'm going to write on Saturday morning from 8 to 10, and then you think, oh, but wait, there's this great opportunity to do this, or I've got this great speech that I'm preparing for, and I need to work on that. There's always something. There's always something, isn't there? So you have to decide if writing is important for you, then you need to honor that time on your calendar. So that's huge. So time is a huge obstacle. What else is an obstacle for you? Yes?
It's so difficult to not be harassed by the thought that it's already been done. It's already been written. People have already, it's already out there.
Okay, how many of you are dealing with that voice that says, but wait, who's going to read my stuff? What do I have to say that's different, that's special? Yeah, and some of us are, we speak on topics that a lot of people talk about. I mean, really, when I started doing the research about who's written a book about writing a book, there are lots and lots and lots of competitors that I have out there in the marketplace. But it's interesting. To answer this question, let me just tell you a story that happened just the other day. I was meeting with a prospect, and we were sitting down, and she said, Cathy, she said, here's my big issue. She said, I am just really concerned who would want to read my book. She said, would anybody want to read my book? And I said, that's really interesting. I said, I think definitely yes. But let me tell you why. And I was thinking about this, and I was so inspired by her question that I wrote what has now become, and this is just a couple weeks ago, my Cathy's Credo. And this is what I wrote that I believe in, and see if this resonates with you. And I'm happy to send this to any of you. And there's lots of things I'll be glad to send to you if you're interested. But Cathy's Credo goes like this. I believe that we are created with a purpose. I believe that we each have value and significance. I believe that we all have unique experiences that shape our lives and provide us with a perspective not shared by anyone else. I believe that we can help others by sharing our stories, our experiences, what we've learned along the way. I believe that when we tell our stories, we allow others to bear witness to the purpose of our lives. I believe that everyone can help someone by sharing their story, especially stories of how we've dealt with adversity. I believe that our stories give others the gifts of hope, wisdom, encouragement, laughter, insight, joy. I believe that you can never know the full impact of your story on others. I believe that if you impact just one person in a positive way by telling your story, that impact gives meaning and purpose to your life. I believe that books are the documents that contain our stories and therefore help to document our purpose. And finally, I believe that it is holy work in writing and telling your story. And it is also holy work in helping people tell their stories. So I believe that with all my heart. And I think probably you do too, because each of you gets on the stage to tell your story, right? You're sharing your wisdom, you're sharing your experiences, you're sharing what you know. And the same question could really kind of come to you as like, well, why should I tell this story? Isn't this a story that other people have heard? But we still get up and tell our story because we believe it can make a difference. We believe that we do have something unique and special to offer. So I would suggest that, yes, you have a story to tell. And you know what? Let's just take the topic of leadership. I mean, are there how many books on leadership right now, right? I mean, so many books on leadership. And yet, how many more books on leadership will be written? And here's the thing. I believe that the next book on leadership may be the one that helps that one person over there that is struggling, that has not found the answers. Because let's face it, have we solved the leadership problems of the world? No, we have not solved the leadership problems of the world. As long as there are leadership problems, we can benefit from that next book, that next insight, that next story about leadership. So I believe that with all my heart and soul, that we do have an important story to tell, and that we must tell our stories, and we should tell them in book form, because that's a more permanent document that we will send out in the world that will help influence other people and make a difference. Is that helpful? Good, good. What else is getting in the way? Because I think that there are several things that get in the way for us. Yes?
The overwhelm of research.
Just what you have to do to get ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is part of it, but I'm going to suggest to you that many of you are speaking on this topic. You're doing research all the time. You're reading all the time. So it's part of what you do as speakers. You're becoming knowledgeable about your body of knowledge. So this is just part of what you do. The other thing that I would suggest to you is that you don't have to know everything about your subject to write a book about your subject. You just have to have a different perspective, your story to tell. So it doesn't, I mean, I think books do need to be well researched. I think they do need to reflect current thinking and what's out there in the marketplace. But you don't have to write everything you know, and you don't have to write everything on that subject to be credible. What else is getting in the way?
Publishing, how you're going to publish, the cost of publishing, which route you're going to go is a bit daunting, and then you think, should I even start?
Yes, yes, yes. So there's that whole notion of, okay, I can write it, but then what's going to happen to it next? And the good news here is that it's never been easier to move into the publishing world. You know, it used to be we had to find an agent, and we had to find a publisher, and we had to go in all that direction. And there was quite a stigma around self-publishing. But the good news is that stigma has really gone away completely. And I'm a huge believer in self-publishing. So I'm not going to really talk a lot about publishing in this talk, but I'll be glad to answer questions offline for you about sort of how you move in that direction and what are some of the next steps. Because I think you're right, there still is a concern like, okay, I'm willing to invest this time and get this done, but then what's next and what is it going to cost me and how do I move forward? So I'm happy to answer those, yes. So what else? Anybody here sort of have this voice in your head that says like, who do you think you are writing this book? Who do you think you are writing this book? This voice in our head is so ugly, so mean, so persistent. In the book, we actually, my nephew and I wrote the book together, On Your Mark, and we wanted to have a great name for this voice that's in your head. And we really thought about this. One of my friends had called this voice the bitch. And we really thought, you know, some people might be offended by that, so let's try and think of a better name. But we couldn't really think of a better name. And we thought something from Greek mythology or, you know, Hydra, or it just didn't have the same sort of bite as the bitch. So we kept it. The voice is the bitch. And the voice continually wants to talk you out of writing your book. The voice says things like, who do you think you are? You know, did you ever have an English teacher that told you you could write? Because let me just tell you this. Some of you may think, oh, well, she wrote it in 6 weeks because she loves to write, she's good at writing. All of her English teachers told her she should go and write a book. Not one teacher has ever told me that I was so gifted and so talented I should write a book. Never.